Today we're going to be talking about a Muslim Sultan kingdom in East Africa. The Muslim Sultanate of Aussa was in modern-day East African countries of Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Djibouti. We always must remember most modern African countries, as far as boundaries, did not exist in ancient times. Instead, kingdoms and empires drew out the lines of the ancient world, though some African countries such as Ethiopia, established in 1220, are much older than others. The Sultanate was head and king of all Afar peoples and Afar rulers. This Sultanate arose out of the Imamate of Aussa. The Imamate of Awas would arise in 1577 out of the split of the massive Adal Sultan, which spanned the modern countries of Somalia, Ethiopia, and Djibouti. With the split of the Adal Sultanate, the Imamate of Awas and the Sultanate of Harar would both arise. The Awassa would be destroyed in 1672 by a local group of Afar peoples. These same people from the Afar ethnic group would found the Sultanate Kingdom of Aussa. The Sultanate Kingdom would not last long, and this was due to Imam Umar Dib bin Adam's rise to the throne. The Sultanate Kingdom would rise back to prominence in 1734 with the Afar leader Dada Kadafo. He was head of the Mudetu Afar clan, took power of the Sultan, and created the Mudetu dynasty. The center of the Sultanate Kingdom would be a silver baton that was said to be magical. This rule over the kingdom would push forward the Sultanate into the future. This Sultanate would have influence in modern countries of Ethiopia and Eritrea. The Sultanate Kingdom's power would be passed down from son to son and seemed to have governed stability. Before 1875, Muhammad Hanfati would rule the Sultanate Kingdom. He would have many local sultans under his rule in Assab, which would eventually become a port city in the country of Eritrea. In the highlands of what is now Eritrea, Assab would be the first port that was sold to Italy by local chief sultans. The country of Italy was just becoming unified as a country in 1871. Raphael Rubatino, an Italian entrepreneur, would start a shipping company in Italy. With his father being a businessman, he would follow in the same footsteps. He would also get into politics and used his businesses to forward his cause in the Mediterranean and Red Sea. He would work out an agreement with the Sicilian shipping company, buy Assab, then go on to buy more land in the area. He would then sell the land to the Italian government. This would establish Italian Eritrea. At the same time, the Egyptian army was at war with the Emperor Yohannes of Ethiopia. Sultan Muhammad in Ethiopia would kill Werner Munzinger, general of the Egyptian army and under Ottoman rule, in the Ethiopian battle. To the east, the French would own French Somaliland, and the British would own most parts of the Horn of African coast. The British also took over Egypt at this time after Ottoman rule of Egypt was over. This would all play into the British hand. As Britain knew Egypt was weak, the Egyptian army needed help from Ethiopia and Sudan, the British letting Italy expand in modern-day Eritrea, Italy stopping French expansion, and eventually Ethiopia and Italy going to war 2 times in the Ethiopian-Italian War. Also, the struggle for Ethiopia to be a Christian country. We must know Ethiopia could have and almost became a Muslim country due to a strong Sultan presence in the area. It seems the British played an advanced and major hand at this time. With the Italian colony of Eritrea established, Sultan Muhammad would sign treaties with the country. After Yohannes of Ethiopia's death, Menelik II one of his rivals would rise to be Emperor of Ethiopia. Menelik II of Ethiopia would station part of his army near the Sultanate of Aussa. This was due to Menelik II wanting to make sure the Sultanate of Aussa, which even at the time was still separated from Ethiopia and Eritrea, would not honor treaties signed with the Italian Eritrea. During the First Italian-Ethiopian War, Menelik II would station troops next to the Sultan. The Second Italian-Ethiopian War would lead to a different result. The Sultan at the time over the Aussa Kingdom, Sultan Muhammad Yayo, would agree to work with the Italians. This would lead to the occupation of the wealthy Sultanate by the Italians next to the border of French Somaliland. In 1943, the Ethiopian government would take back the Sultanate with its military from the Italians. Ethiopia would capture Sultan Yayo and made one of his relatives the new Sultan of the kingdom. Sultan Hanfur would be the next Sultan, and in 1975, he would be exiled to Saudi Arabia. He would return after the Derg in 1991. Once the Sultan was back, he would be in conflict with the government of Ethiopia over the Sultan Kingdom's free reign of its kingdom. Haile Selassie's government would weaken the Sultan's power and control. Sultan Hanfur wanted to unite the Afar tribe under one sultanate like the past, but also being part of the country of Ethiopia. While Eritrea was dealing with its own issues as a country and its governance between local peoples, Ethiopia, and European powers, 55 Afar chiefs in Eritrea would discuss a Ethiopia-Afar state within Ethiopia. Between 1961 and 1963, the Afar of Eritrea would meet up twice to discuss this. In 1964, the Afar leaders would go to Addis Ababa to President Haile Selassie with this proposal. There was no agreement for some time, and conflicts and territory grabs would happen within Ethiopia and the Sultanate. Sultan Hanfur would still stay loyal to the Ethiopian Empire. Eventually, the Sultan did not get the power to rule a Sultanate state kingdom within Ethiopia again, but he did gain some power and autonomy. Emperor Haile Selassie would put a governor in place of the Aussa Sultanate. The governor would stay on the outside of the Aussa borders, while the Sultan had somewhat control over his borders within reason. We also have to understand that Africa and the Horn of Africa has thousands of years of history. Throughout some of the countries we know today, there were hundreds of kingdoms and empires over time. Just keep that in mind, and some kingdoms and empires overlapped others at the same time. We have to realize that we have countries and borders now that we didn't have in the past, and they changed constantly. So there were sultans, empires, kingdoms, and then over time, as countries arose, those dissolved and those were no more. And sometimes they still exist, but they just might not have the same amount of power that they did at one point, but they still exist within a country. So within an African country, there could have literally been, 20 to 40 to 50 kingdoms, empires, sultanates, different states that exist within one boundary of a country. But also that's why some countries can overlap and share history, because in general, they could be the exact same people, but just in two countries, that new borders that were either created by Europeans or some that were created by African leaders have created. Just always remember that, because African history is so deep and it can become a little confusing when you're thinking about modern terms versus ancient terms and modern ways of living versus ancient ways of living. It's really so interesting because when I do these videos, I just really want you guys to understand that there's a lot of knowledge in our history, and sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. I'm not going to lie. There's just so much to unpack, and I'm trying to do the best I can, but I hope you guys really enjoy this video. Please check out my new NFT collectible art line called Diaspora. It is online collectible African art from all around the world, people of African descent. Check that out down in the description on mintable.com. Also, like, subscribe, turn on your bell notifications so you get all my videos. Make sure you subscribe down there. It is free and it helps the algorithm. It helps me grow more. It helps me bring more videos to you guys. And with the support of you guys, I can bring bigger and better videos. Also add me on all social medias, which is Afric Network, which is Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Facebook, Snapchat, and TikTok. Each one teach one. Always love each other. Always learn from each other. And yo guys, until next time, one love.